As a bankruptcy firm, Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling RILA Finances. We're here to guide you through the next steps to restart your life with easy video appointments. New clients don't have to leave home to get information about becoming debt-free. Also, convenient in-office appointments are available at the low cost of $340 upfront for a Chapter 13. You can be on your way to being debt-free. Contact Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling today or visit our website at mcdebtfree.com. We are here to help you.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 5.
Hey there, Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon. Thank you so much for joining us here on Mississippi Live Weather at 5 on this Tuesday. Nope, we're in Wednesday. My day of week all messed up apparently there, as we're trying to have, I guess, maybe an extra one in there. We are looking at what is going to be stormy conditions without a question this upcoming weekend. And as we talked about a little bit last night, that timing might be continuing to refine into Sunday for some, especially the first part of Sunday. Now tonight, clear cut, overnight, cold night on the way. We've been talking about that the last few days here in the Room Durham Weather Center. But cold is a relative term. It's the coldest we have for a while, but in many cases, maybe not even below freezing. We'll look at just how chilly that'll get coming up here in a couple minutes. Rain will return as we go into this upcoming weekend, and we do think storms are a possibility. But where will those strongest storms be? At this point, we're still hedging our bet back down more towards South Mississippi. We'll talk more about that with the very latest look at our threat confidence levels coming up here in a couple of minutes. But 54, that temperature at 6 p.m., dropping to 47 by 9, 42 by around midnight. You probably noticed it was a little bit cooler today than it was yesterday. And again, with, I think, these northerly winds continuing to come in behind this front, as all the showers have moved right on out of here, we're probably down there, as you can see, into the mid-30s by early morning on Thursday. Hey, listen, that is as cold as we get for a while, so certainly an improvement in that regard, and I don't think we're going to have a whole lot of complaints there. Outside in Cleveland right now, coming in 59 degrees for that temperature. Our winds out of kind of a northerly direction at about 8 to 10 miles per hour there. As certainly still some damp spots out there from the rainfall we had earlier today. Mabon coming in with that shield of cloud cover, a lot of thick mid-level clouds out there, but no real precipitation coming from any of those. Feels like 57 for that temperature, and similar temperature right there in the Starkville area as well. Good evening to everyone in Starkville as we look out of our camera on the Mississippi State University campus, a location where our Caleb Edelblut will be later on this week when we start looking at SEC baseball. We'll also be in Oxford with our meteorologist, Maggie McCauley, so covering both there. A Mama Justice Doppler radar showing it drying out from where we were earlier. All the showers that we had earlier today, not even a whole lot of those even still showing up back close to this front, back toward our south and east. This is kind of the limiting factor on how far north some of our chances for more active weather will go, because this is associated with drier air. Way to show that will be the dew points. It's a measure of moisture based on the same scale as the temperature. Browns here would be drier air, and most certainly we've had those winds out of the north today bringing in that drier air emanating from this high pressure center you see up there closer to St. Louis. And so how far south is that moisture shoved? That is the very relevant question as to how this all plays out. I'll make this a longer loop here. This is a 12-hour loop. And you can see how the green continues to sink a little bit farther south, a little bit farther south, a little bit farther south. And so if it goes all the way to the Gulf, it takes longer to return. And it's one of the factors I think that will be a limiting factor as far as storms are concerned going into this upcoming weekend. And one of the things that hopefully limits any significant potential we have as far as that is concerned. But high pressure is the story here for tonight. And that will start calming those winds down later on tonight here. As you'll see, our front well to the south of us, so any meaningful rainfall down that direction there, even off of the coast for the most part, keeping our friends down there south of Hattiesburg in the dry. We're looking at 3 o'clock in the morning here. Again, I think enough clearing that we'll probably have those temperatures back somewhere mid-30s early tomorrow morning. We don't get directly under the center of high pressure here, which means we don't get the coldest to cold air with this storm system, but it will be obviously a little bit cooler settling in. And then the more active weather, still a ways out. We're watching that system back there toward the west coast, all the way there towards San Francisco. Timing on this, because as we've talked about, it's kind of a slow mover. I think shifting late enough that some of those storm chances continue deeper into your Sunday. You'll want to see that 7-day forecast here in a minute as we're refining that timing. As we talked about a lot yesterday, it's going to take some refinement and we've continued to see that shift more toward the Sunday time period there. But we're still ahead of all that for tonight, ahead of all that for tomorrow. 36 degrees, that starting temperature on your Thursday. We'll look city by city at those low temperatures here in a minute. We're 45 degrees at 9 a.m., 57 by noon, and 63 as we head toward tomorrow afternoon. That still puts us between 8 to 10 degrees above what we typically should be for this time of the year. So continuing to be pretty warm, but dry on your Thursday. Now, coming up here in 60 seconds, we're going to be going through a lot of different things. First off, we're going to have an exclusive look at our strike model, something you can see only here on Mississippi Live Weather, and its positioning on some of the rain and storm chances this upcoming weekend. Again, it's a model. We're looking as far out as it can go. We'll help time out and show you what you can expect with that. We'll also be looking at instability, fuel, what we sometimes call CAPE. That will be one of the limiting factors. Again, we talked about where that front is, how that returns, where it returns, and where those chances have the greatest potential to possibly be strong as Mississippi Live Weather continues here from the Room to Room Weather Center in 60 seconds. We'll see you then.
At First Choice Bank, we know you can't always make it before the bank closes. With our integrated teller, you can talk to a live person as late as 7 p.m. on weekdays and noon on Saturdays. It's not just an ATM, it's an ITM. First Choice Bank, your choice for banking.
As we move into storm season, here's something most homeowners don't realize after a storm. Roof damage isn't always obvious. Wind can lift shingles, breaking the seal. Hail can bruise them below, and flashing around chimneys and pipes can loosen without you ever knowing. That damage may not show up for months. If your area has strong wind or hail, a professional inspection will help bring you clarity before small damage turns into bigger problems.
Can I ask a few questions?
Yeah, sure.
Do you have any pets?
Yes, we have a dog, but she's little.
Do you have any unlocked guns around the house?
We do have a gun, but it's stored securely, locked in a safe that the kids can't access. Appreciate you asking.
Yeah, of course.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lovhawn.
Hey there, welcome back to Mississippi Live Weather here at 5 p.m. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon. Hopefully you're having an absolutely fantastic day. We're going to be looking again at non-adjusted Doppler radar, where it still shows a few little sprinkles out there. I'm going to put this into motion. We really haven't seen, I think, anything particularly meaningful this afternoon out there, though we showed just a couple of those. We're looking at that camera there in Starkville. I'm going to check out our Ackerman camera here for a moment, because that gives us an idea of any of that's getting close to the ground there. You see, this is what we're depicting here. Look at that right there. That is some of that precipitation falling, maybe a couple sprinkles making the ground, but most of this is, I think, just dry enough there that that's not the case. And that dew point, that measure of moisture coming in 46, so a bit of a gap there between the temperature, and that's why, again, a lot of that is evaporating before it gets down there closer to the surface. I'd say probably a similar shot there if we went back and checked out Winona, just a little back to the west there in Montgomery County. Again, you get those crepuscular rays. That's where you can actually kind of see the ray breaking through. Great shot there. Appreciate the North Mississippi Storm Chasers. Again, a great partner with us here on Mississippi Live Weather. Again, only a couple sprinkles out there. That is pretty much it as far as the eye can see for today. No severe weather threat for today. We'll be talking about, again, severe weather preparedness week today, the discussion about tornadoes, how to shelter, all that kind of information. We'll have more discussion on that at 6 o'clock with our meteorologist, Gabe Maynard. But today, tomorrow, and for your Friday, no severe weather risk for our area. There is at least a limited level 1 risk back there toward Texas as our storm system gets more active. No official risk yet for Saturday or Sunday, but I do anticipate that we will probably have a risk for severe weather here across the Magnolia State. Very well could include some of us here in North Mississippi. I would certainly say at this early juncture, and it is still pretty early as far as that's concerned, South Mississippi more our target zone here, where we're thinking a chance to probably see some severe weather. But does that extend up to Jackson? Does it maybe get all the way to the Golden Triangle? That's one of the things we'll be looking at. In particular, for Saturday night and Sunday, that timing shifting just slightly later. One of the things we're discussing in more detail here in just a couple of minutes. And again, the severe weather threats, I think most of this still largely stays to the south. Confidence, though, increasing a little bit on maybe the potential to see an isolated tornado getting closer to us. I think brief wind gusts, the main impact we'll see. And this is important because we still have a lot of those danglers, those branches dangling down below the various trees that have been damaged by the ice storm. those are going to blow off more easily. And that obviously is a threat in and of itself that we're going to have to watch very closely. I think hail, very limited. Flash flooding, not an impossibility. Maybe a better of some of those chances there. Let's look at fuel here. Fuel instability, sometimes what we call it. Other times we refer to it as CAPE. This is one of the limiting factors, I think, for this storm system, because largely the upper level winds come right overhead. Timing on the lift is also a little bit one of the things that we're working on this, but you can see definitely a lot more fuel down here for Texas, back into Louisiana, even into Saturday evening. We've yet to see much fuel in our area, meaning our first real opportunity, if we were to see some stronger thunderstorms, is going to be overnight and into the pre-dawn hours of early Sunday morning. Case in point here, again, looking at one of our projections, this one, I believe technically a strike model here, showing some of that fuel getting all the way up here in North Mississippi, more significant down closer to Jackson. But then one of the things I find interesting here, as you can see, it's this kind of void. We'll look at this with our exclusive strike model here in a minute. That void largely because of kind of an initial batch of thunderstorms. The thing that I find interesting about that is there's almost kind of this secondary push of fuel up from the Gulf. So we will see if we still have enough lift around there as we go into your Sunday midday. As you can see, that does increase. By the way, it's as far out as we can look on this. So Sunday in particular, as well as I think really early Sunday morning, pre-dawn Sunday morning through Sunday, the timing we're going to have to look at. And we'll break out our strike model on that here in a moment. No issues with that for your Thursday. As you can see here, we're 35 degrees. Again, a little chilly there for your pickup forecast. Again, appreciate IMPC on your school bus forecast here. We're 63 for drop-off there under what should be, again, partly cloudy, the mostly clear skies most of the day. So tonight, as we kind of get into that there, only a few high clouds there. We still have a little bit of a northerly wind component to it, so not an extreme wind chill by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it calms down enough that we probably have somewhere in the neighborhood of mid-30s out there for the first part of early morning Thursday. So again, 36 where we typically should be. We're going to be right there for Tupelo, for Amory, for Vernon, about 36 degrees, 37 Eupora, 40 for Greenwood, and 40 back for Kosciuszko. Wind chill temperatures, again, not a huge difference, maybe just slightly cooler a few spots. That's why we're 31 for that wind chill temperature in Boonville, Corinth, and Iuka coming in about 32. But this is as cold as it gets for a while. It's actually upward from here, looking into and through the extended forecast as the better part of the next week plus keeps conditions pretty mild out there. I mean, you can even see that looking at the low temperatures there from 35 Thursday morning to 40 Friday, 46 Saturday. This 54 Sunday, that might have to come up as confidence continues to increase on the amount of fuel available for thunderstorms, especially if we're looking kind of still some early day thunderstorms. That could push those low temperatures closer to the 60 degree point for early Sunday morning. So definitely warming things up, especially when we compare where we've come from with that obviously most recent ice storm just within the last couple of weeks here and just all the cold weather behind that. So again, Thursday, it's kind of an easterly sort of wind. We are dry. We are mostly clear. Only a few passing clouds out there and obviously no precipitation to really contend with as we progress through your Thursday afternoon into Thursday evening, keeping things dry. I think the next rain chances start to arrive Friday and get a lot better into the weekend. So Thursday's highs, about 62 New Albany, 63 degrees in Tupelo and Amory. We're 66 Eupora, 68 Kosciuszko, and 66 for both Greenwood and Beltzona. Normal's about 57, so again, running a bit above that. Wider shot here continues to show, again, what are mostly dry conditions here by your Thursday evening. High pressure is kind of half of that equation. We talked about this a minute ago here, how we watch that front all the way down there past Miami, Florida, where we show it there back to the south and east of us. And so that is all, again, directly related to that drier air coming in behind this frontal system. And so just how far south does it shove that deepest moisture, and can it return quickly enough to produce the severe thunderstorms this weekend? That is one of those limiting factors. Again, next couple of days, you'll hear us talk about that multiple times. That next storm system, though, back out toward the west, and you can kind of see some impacts from that. That's what all this cloud cover is, gradually working toward us. It's that spin back there closer to San Diego. Again, Friday, still a long, long ways west of us. That's why, even to begin the day, we're not particularly impressed by what we're looking at. But again, it's late Saturday and Sunday before that gets closer. So 40, that will be your low temperature early morning there in Amory and Columbus on your Friday. 36 where we should be, and a little warmer than where we will be versus that normal. And again, warmer than tomorrow will be by Friday morning. Still a little chilly. Still obviously jacket weather for the kids, but a stair step upward temperature-wise. And then only a few clouds out here early Friday morning, keeping again kind of an easterly wind in play here. But notice how as we go toward midday, head toward afternoon, don't really show much in the way of rainfall across the region. You get a little bit up there out into Arkansas, but hopefully keeping conditions dry. And that means hopefully dry conditions for your SEC baseball forecast. We'll show you that Carl Hogan SEC baseball forecast, looking for both the weekends for Ole Miss and Mississippi State, coming up during our 6 o'clock broadcast, still refining some of that information as well. So 65 there in Tupelo. We're at 67 degrees on Friday in Houston, 69 degrees Eupora, and 71 Kosciuszko, 74 Greenwood, well above that 57 we'd expect, and not quite the record-setting levels. Hey, our high school basketball game of the week is going to be in Ellistown. The East Union folks are hosts of the regional that has won our game of the week. So the reason why we don't have them on here is we don't know for sure exactly which teams are going to end up in that game of the week. It'll be that the girls game Friday evening. I think the tip-off is 7 o'clock. I'd have to double check that. But yeah, it says right there, 7 o'clock on Friday. So expecting that to be dry and a little bit cool, but obviously heating things up in the gym there as playoff action is here. And again, appreciate Casey Lott and Langston Lott for supporting us here on Mississippi Live. So here is that next storm system getting more active again back there into Texas and New Mexico on your Friday night. We showed that limited severe weather risk, and this is kind of what our data looks like for that time period there. Possibly some damaging winds, non-zero tornado threat, and certainly hail out of this storm system back into Texas. But as it kind of works toward us, see, we're still ahead of it. Only a little bit of lighter shower activity for the early morning hours of early Saturday morning here. But we're watching that moisture starting to come up out of the Gulf of Mexico. And as more of that kind of returns out of the Gulf, that will then help to kind of eventually help thunderstorms to get a little bit stronger here. But as we show those conditions coming a little closer to us here, I have, again, wide open Gulf of Mexico. It's just how much of that fuel makes it northward. We're 3, we're 4, we're 5 p.m. here on your Saturday, and you can definitely see back here into Texas and Oklahoma, things are strongest. Now, I'm going to say this for Gabe behind the scenes. Remind me after the show. I think that this particular one, we've tuned down the rainfall a little bit, because I bet if I go to this next graphic, yeah, see how it goes up a little bit there? I noticed it on one before, so I have to fix. That would be, what is that? Strike day 4. Remind me about fixing that between shows. I appreciate that, Gabe. So this definitely is a line of thunderstorms with some individual thunderstorms developing ahead of it. And this will probably prompt a severe weather risk for locations west of us on Saturday, and in particular for Saturday night. Again, you're looking at our exclusive strike model about as far out as we can give you a projection on this. So we do expect this to change as we get closer here. But as you can see, still timing 11:30 to midnight, showing it is after midnight into pre-dawn early Sunday morning before any of the storm chances really get going in here. Now, what this depicts, and again, we expect the storm type and everything related to this to change as we get closer. But we do show, again, a line of thunderstorms. Note here from Clarksdale southward. That's where it ends up being the strongest. That is to be expected because, as we said probably 4 or 5 times now, the limiting factor will be the instability, the fuel for thunderstorms, because that is more plentiful farther south. Storms will be more plentiful and stronger that direction as well. Analyzing what these could have, I do see some kind of arch sort of shapes on these. So Boeing echoes, wind in particular, the most likely factor. And even if these aren't technically up to that severe threshold, which would be 58 miles per hour or greater, I don't think it takes that to cause problems. Because as this moves through, we're probably going to see some limbs that are still dangling from this ice storm that drop. So yes, I know Oxford, you're nowhere near as likely as I'd say down here closer to Jackson to see severe weather. But the fact that we're going to have a line of wind at all come through, that remains a bit of a concern. Hopefully we'll get a look here, and Gabe, remind me of this, at the wind gusts coming up at 6 o'clock. We might be able to kind of analyze some early looks here at our strike model at those peak wind gusts for that as well. You can see 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning. We show those storms kind of moving through, and you might remember looking at the fuel at the top of the broadcast when I kind of showed you that here a few minutes ago. We talked about there were some areas where it really kind of eaten up the fuel. That of these thunderstorms down here toward Jackson. Here's where things get interesting on our strike model. Now, you notice 9, 10, 11 o'clock, it doesn't have a whole lot there, but then we have that fuel that starts charging northward. If the position of this front is a little slower, it's not impossible to get a few of these thunderstorms to possibly recharge and maybe get a little stronger for Sunday afternoon. Now, I run out of data on our strike model at noontime. So I can't show you that at this point, but I do think when we get the latest data in either tonight at 10 o'clock or we start looking at that again in the next couple of days, we'll see. We might still have a few thunderstorms heavier at that point. We have equalized the rain chances here, and Gabe, we're going to change that behind the scenes here. Let's flip these. I know that the timing, is what it is. I still think, again, pre-dawn, early Sunday morning, really at the earliest here when those storms are getting more likely. Might need to take that temperature up just a little bit more as well there. But the takeaway, I think, is pretty straightforward here. If you're looking from a temperature perspective, these temperatures remain warm all the way into the extended forecast. I mean, your coolest afternoon will be Thursday at 63. I mean, that tells you we're running way above our normal for this time of year. Again, limited shower chances on Friday, much more likely late Saturday night and early Sunday morning there. And then the system hopefully out if you're drying things out by Monday. But notice it's not a giant drop in temperatures as we have lows that are probably back in the mid 40s behind this. So this next frontal system, not an Arctic front, it's more of a Pacific front. And Pacific fronts sometimes shove the moisture down, but they don't typically tap into a lot of Arctic or cold air. So that's definitely not the case. Of course, we'll be updating things here at msliveweather.com and the Mississippi Live Weather app over the next few days here. Let's go ahead and bring in our chat here behind the scenes so we can kind of see what you guys are all asking. Again, I do have some other quotes and things like that in there. Appreciate y'all for sticking with us there, and we might have to stop that person who seems like they went ahead and spammed. Let me see if I can. We'll go ahead and click block on that. It's not that there's anything particularly wrong with what they said, but we want to make sure we get we don't have people up on there spamming. So there we go for folks, and appreciate everyone for kind of tuning in here. And I appreciate what Adam says there. Hit that like button. Certainly makes a difference for us. As your support makes a big difference. Our next live broadcast will be coming up here at 6 p.m. and in the Room to Room Weather Center, we'll be looking at our exclusive storm finder there, kind of assessing how that is, if that continues to see an uptick in our projections. We'll look at some of those peak wind gusts and kind of break down, again, some of our thoughts on the overall severe weather threats as we go into the next few days here, because obviously by this weekend, things look a lot more likely to possibly have some impacts there. So appreciate y'all for supporting us here on Mississippi Live Weather. We will see you coming up at 6.
March 24th, 2023 was a normal Friday. We knew the weather was not good, but we needed to take shelter, and we didn't have shelter. My husband and almost 2-year-old daughter, Ethan and Riley, they did lose their lives in the storm. We're still recovering from it. We'll always be recovering from it. Matt Lawpon cares about the community. He's not just there to collect a paycheck. I feel like Matt Lawpon has proven himself trustworthy